Hi, welcome back to our ISG HR Peer and Market Pulse series. Julie and I are back this week to discuss another hot topic in HR these days, automation. Julie, it's hard to have a conversation about HR technology right now without hearing a mention of AI, chatbots, or RPA, or blockchain. We thought we'd explore how organizations how well are they really embracing or utilizing these technologies that we're hearing so much about. So as we often do, let's start with our poll question. And the question we had this time was, how successful has your organization been at incorporating emerging technologies such as AI, blockchain, or RPA into your HR technology solution or roadmap? And as you can see the results here, only 14% of organizations feel that they've been very successful. With the bulk here, 58% saying they've been moderately successful, and then 28 not successful. So, Julie, what do you make of these results?
Yeah, well, so super interesting. I think there's probably a lot of opportunity to ask a follow-up question around this. So maybe we'll do that in our LinkedIn community. But the first thing that catches my attention is conversion of our efforts into that very successful category, which is the smallest one. Like, that's clearly, where folks want to get, right? And I felt like, first blush, I thought there's quite a bit of activity here. A lot of folks are reporting moderately successful, but I couldn't help but wonder if that was because of the fact that we had a blend of things that were either we've gone live and we've incorporated into our technology solution, right? Or it's on the roadmap. And those are kind of two very different places. And so maybe we have a lot of folks I see a lot of clients that are pretty successful at incorporating these things into roadmaps. It's on the radar. They're thinking about it. They've done a trial something, right? They've done a proof of concept, or they've explored some providers, and so it's there. It's in the roadmap, but not gone live. And then once you go live with these automations, some are hugely successful and very impactful. That's what you want. And others, it's like, well, cool, we stood something up, but what does it do for us? Is it just a bell or a whistle?
I think that's an interesting point too, about making that leap, right? From, we can put it on the roadmap, but how do we get the leap for getting it into the environment? I know, one area where actually it wasn't called out specifically in our question, but I think we have seen more organizations having some success with getting chatbots, at least successfully getting them into their environment. So, I know we've seen it becoming more prevalent. I think we actually had a recent survey results that found around 40% of the organizations we talked to are using some voice or chat channel. I know we've seen it for things like supportive benefits administration, or kind of, making its way into all kinds of any kind of call center environment. I'm not sure whether it was, it wasn't specifically called out in this question here, but whether it was on folks' minds or not. But I know that's one where we've seen it more making its way into the environment.
Yeah, and it's interesting to talk about, because still today, when we talk with folks that are doing chatbots in HR, I still hear the gamut of things from, I have a chatbot and I have people on the other end that are responding to the chatbot, and that's how they're solutioning that, to, I have a chatbot that has, some hand-picked questions, right? And then inevitably, as those go live, it's like, well, did that really help us very much? Or, was that the most impactful thing we could have done with this, technology? And of course, aspirationally, some folks are there. They're more toward the virtual assistance side of the, where they're training and feeding in, different questions and using maybe more complex virtual assistants than chatbots. That's certainly where most folks envision going. But running the gamut of, kind of early automation to bleeding edge automation, is still prevalent, whether you're talking chatbots or RPA or, any of these automation tools. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had another observation that I wanted to share, because practically speaking, we almost can't be working with a client and not talking about automation as a part of transformation. And talking about it and how it fits in the overall picture. What folks think about doing or try to do or want to do with automation differs a lot. And oftentimes it's based on where they are in their transformation journey. And I'm just going to call out two parts of the transformation journey that are really big and really impactful here. One is when folks are trying to get to the cloud. So what they want to do with any of these automation tools, changes quite a bit based on whether they're, trying to hang in there to get to the cloud, or they're, actively deploying the cloud. And so that's their main lever, but they have stuff that's falling out in the middle, or whether they have already gone to the cloud and now they're looking for the next thing, right? And the client focus area in automation changes quite a bit based on where they're at with that, and also where they're at with shared services, right? And trying to centralize things. I don't know if you've noticed that, Kelly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think where they are in their journey is a huge, differentiator in how they choose to deploy automation. And I think there's becoming more and more options too, depending on where you are in your journey. So if you're, early in your journey, pre-transformation, you might be looking to layer some automation in to close a gap because you can't address the bigger technology issue. Where you have technology or you have more shared services, you might have multiple options, right? You may have some tools available through your HCM itself. You may have an outsourced provider in your environment that has some tools available to you. You may look to tap into them from another part of the organization where your finance organization's been doing something with the tool, and you want to try it out. So I think the journey and the maturity makes a difference in what's available to you and how you choose to use it. And of getting back to the tech COE conversation we had, right? You want to use these things strategically. It's not just about hey, let's pop in all these shiny new tools, right? But what organizations should be thinking about, what does my environment look like, and where does it make sense to layer in some of these tools to optimize what I have, to capitalize on a bigger technology investment that I've already made and maximize that, and really enhance my process. So,
yeah, and we have, so hopefully folks can see here at the bottom of the screen kind of the three, before, after, and in the thick of it, right? Different stages. So, if you're thinking about automation, or you're really trying to figure out what your automation strategy is, which of these buckets do you fall in, right? And to be quite honest, a lot of times we see the vast majority of conversations are starting on either end. Either folks know they're not going to get to a big transformation effort right away, and so they're trying to either capture savings or do something quicker or have a fast impact, and that's kind of before bucket, or they've already done some things and they're looking for the next level, right? That's the other end of the bucket. What we maybe don't talk a lot about is as you're in the middle or the midst of your transition to an HCM and shared services, there are things that fall out, right, of that effort. The first thing you hear is, well, I'm going to the cloud now, and that's going to automate, most things. And there's some truth to that. That's a big investment lever. So you're automating all this stuff, but there are specific ways that these other automation tools can catch the things that your investment lever, is not going to do. So that's maybe the less obvious one, right? That, you're in the heart of something really big. How do I use that just to accelerate, or treat integrations differently instead of having to pay big boatloads of money to integrate everything to my HCM, right? Can I use an automation, or can I use an automation tool, to address that part more quickly or more cost effectively?
Yeah, I think we have talked about, we're finding out the HCM answers a lot, but it isn't the end all be all. And these automation tools can be used strategically to supplement that. And, maybe we just, let's talk about RPA. That was in our question, right? And just talk about how that we've seen that used strategically by organizations and where it fits, for this particular type of automation. As you think about the process areas, right, there are things you can choose to automate with your HCM. or you can choose to automate with RPA. There's options here, and you don't want to overlap or take away from your HCM, the big investment that you've made. But you can supplement that where maybe you made the big investment, but it wasn't enough to be able to put in some of the integrations that you wanted, right? And kind of a workforce admin type situation. Or we've seen organizations also have success in, I guess with RPA, you're looking for things that are mature, repetitive, and frequent, right? So as we look at these process areas, we've seen organizations have success with in areas like recruiting specifically, right? Where there's offer letters or candidate matching activities that may or may not be cared for depending on what you decided to do with your HCM and your technology and what you rolled out there. Or payroll, where you may have a lot of you may in a global situation, you have a lot of inputs and source to gross kind of things that you need to pull in from multiple sources and figure out how to get them into your environment. So just kind of some high level examples of where we've seen this particular automation used. If you have other thoughts there.
Yeah, sure. Another way to look at automation and how it fits with some of your other strategic technology investments is to think about what's been in or out of scope, right? So in this example, in a race to get to the cloud, usually that involves standing things up quickly, and so certain modules are in, certain features and functionality is in. My mind kind of naturally goes right to the workforce management string where you see onboarding. In this heat map, in this particular conversation with the client, it's actually blued out as a standalone RPA candidate. Well, clearly, that is because that was not a part of the HCM scope of activities, and that might look different, with another company in a different standpoint, just because they had decided to include that in the scope of their cloud systems. So looking to fill gaps or scope areas where maybe a module or a SKU wasn't deployed for one reason or another, because there are still best of breed technologies in the mix with, kind of your primary core integrated suite. All of those look different for each individual client that we're working with. And that can cause you to look across the automation options that you have uniquely for each person, even though we kind of know the same sorts of things everybody wants to automate, right?
Yeah, but it's not a one size fits all, right? It needs to be folded into your strategy like anything else. So.
Exactly. Well, hopefully that gives folks a taste anyways. I think this is the first toe dipped into some of the HR automation topics that we see and deal with routinely with clients. I'd like to invite folks. I'm actually thinking about posting a follow-up poll here that brings another layer of clarity and insights from our peer group. So please, if you're interested in following some of the polls, participating, if you'd like to suggest or have conversation with peers about these topics, please go to LinkedIn and search for Digital HR Connections. That's our HR community. We'd love to have you jump in and participate, where we're really looking for peers to be talking with each other and to get your opinions and sound off so that we can share maybe another angle on HR automation with folks. Thanks everybody for listening in.